Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features Classic X-Men number 39, cover dated November 1989. Now, what is of interest for this particular video is not the A story, which is a reprint of Uncanny X-Men 133, Wolverine Alone. We've got Steve Lytle's interpretation of a famous episode from that particular issue when Wolverine takes on the Hellfire Club mercenaries. So pretty cool cover here, but it's the backup story that we're going to be taking a look at today. And the reason for that is it's Jim Lee's first X-Men comics work. So this comic itself came out a month after Uncanny X-Men 248, which is his first issue of the main title, but he actually drew a 12-page story for this comic in advance of that work on 248. And indeed, his art job on the backup story here was one of the reasons why he got the fill-in gig for number 248, a video review of which is available on the channel. So I'm going to open this one up to its title of contents page here. We've got a nice little spot illustration of Nightcrawler by Steve Lytle again. And here's the B story credits. So the title of the story is Briggs Revenge. It's a 12-page story, as I already said. Ann Nocenti's the writer, Jim Lee penciler, Joe Rubinstein inker, Jim Novak letterer, and Gregory Wright or Greg Wright colorist. So let's skip along. You know, in the future, I do want to cover the Byrne and Claremont run of Uncanny X-Men, but that's down the road, and not concerned with that today. Instead, we're here for the backup story, as I said, Briggs Revenge. So this one features Storm, but it also features Wolverine and Colossus. So there's 3 X-Men in this. It really is a story that is about Storm, though. So we've got a beautiful splash page here of Storm in her civilian clothes, flying over Manhattan. So we'll read a little bit of Ann Nocenti's narrative captions here. Storm is an X-Man, a mutant blessed with the gift of riding the winds and controlling the weather about her. But mutant X-Men are generally considered outlaws, and their identities are secret. So why does she fly the skies of Manhattan for all to see? Because it's a glorious day, and sometimes a girl just can't resist. So really what you'll see in the art job for this particular issue is Jim Lee not scrimping on the backgrounds. Indeed, Jim Lee, when he gives advice for prospective young artists to get into comics, always advises them to show what they can draw. So we've got a cable car here, we've got maybe a barge down here on the river, I think it might be the East River there. And we've got buildings, we've got a worm's eye view of the buildings here with Storm flying above. All kinds of different people illustrated here. And another interesting thing to consider is that this is Jim Lee before his art style really solidifies into the kind of polished style that we are familiar with today. So there's a lot of creativity, unusual choices by Lee in terms of the storytelling that he doesn't do anymore, and it's kind of fun to see him developing in this issue. And also something else to note about the art in this issue is the man knows that he has an opportunity here to make a bid for what ultimately he got, like a guest issue of Uncanny X-Men, and then ultimately that 3-parter with Wolverine and Psylocke, and then after that becoming the series' regular penciler. So he knows in a way he's auditioning for a better gig down the road, and we can see it with the art job in this particular story. So Storm is flying above Manhattan, and then she comes down surreptitiously in a back alley, and she's hopeful that no one saw her land, but somebody did. This guy coming from behind the bin here, and obviously he's got some kind of powers with these Kirby dots emerging out of his eyes, and he looks fairly grubby, down and out, and we get some insight into his thoughts. She can fly, he thinks. Maybe she's a mutant like me, so he's a mutant. Maybe she can help me. Oh, I hope she's nice, he thinks. And Just a few other observations here regarding the art. Jim Lee has said that one of his influences is Kevin Nolan, and I'm seeing some Kevin Nolan influence on the spotting of blacks and hatching around here. It's Joe Rubinstein doing the inks, but obviously following Lee's pencils, and Lee was and is famous for doing very tight pencils. So Rubinstein following that in the art here. So let's turn over and see what else we have. So here we have again, like I said, Lee not cutting any corners with the backgrounds here. We've got a New York taxi cab, we've got other cars. We've got really great storytelling on this page in particular. And something that Lee has said that helped him with his storytelling was he was very interested in mime, like mime art in college. And that it helped him with developing body language and gesture for when he was drawing. So we see that here, Storm like walking down the street here, the sidewalk, to use the American terminology, like a supermodel. This well-heeled man emerging from the back of the car there, everybody admiring Storm, all the different types, like kind of youth punk types on the street, businessmen, and now the mutants coming up behind Storm there. And we see like Lee using body language and facial expression. And I like this little bit. This is exactly like a mime artist here. And then the double take by the guy when he realizes Storm has walked on past him and then catching up with her here. So nice storytelling by Lee on this page. So the guy is introducing himself. He says his name is Billy Briggs. He's pleased to meet her, but she's walked on. And she thinks here, oh, how annoying, go away. Who does he think he is? And then he's irked and says, lady, I was talking to you, introducing myself, and you just walked off. And then he gets pushed in the chest by the well-heeled man who emerged from the car. And he comes in like a shining, like a knight in shining armor for Storm. Leave the lady alone. Can't you see you're bothering her? And there he is, like holding himself up against the signpost there. She's smiling at him, and she is. Thank you, that was very gallant of you. It was nothing, he says. Looks a bit like Reed Richards with a goatee. It was nothing for a beautiful woman such as you, anytime, anywhere. And Billy is not at all happy with this treatment he's received from the pair of them. And we see the blood emerging from his lip, which is interesting because he wasn't punched or anything like that, but maybe he's biting his lip with envy and malcontent, and he thinks she's flirting with him. Oh, I see. Just cause this rich, oil-slick con man is dressed nice and handsome, she smiles at him, while old Billy is a little too ugly and messy for her. No, this mutant lady wouldn't help me. She's as prejudiced as the rest. I hate her. I could kill them both right now, but I won't. I'll do worse. Her breezy, carefree ways, her enjoyment of life, that's what I'll steal from her. This is the last day she'll ever enjoy. And this is what the story is about. This guy's malign, envious scheme to spoil Aurora's glorious day. And the handsome guy says to her, goodbye, hope to see you soon. One never knows. So she is back to her glorious day. But Billy isn't going to forget about her. Nice three-quarter profile here of Billy. And note the lighting too. Very nicely done by Lee. Even the rendition of the teeth on the gum line is so carefully done. As I said, this is Lee pulling out all the stops here. And then our scene switches to the grounds of the X-Mansion. So what is the timeline setting of this? This is set sometime during the Claremont and Byrne run. So we've got Wolverine in his yellow and blue costume. We've got Aurora in her original costume and Colossus in his from that era, the Cockrum designed costume from that era. And so we have them just spending some time on the grounds of the X-Mansion. Wolverine is betting Colossus that he can't pull this tree out of the ground. And he does, and he manages it here. And this is quite a nice anchor image by Lee of Colossus pulling that tree up. roots and all. And there's interesting use of screen tone here as well, and splashed ink to indicate the soil, the earth. So an interesting range of mark making by Lee, working with Rubinstein at this point, again long before the slick polish of Scott Williams, when that style coalesces for Lee. And then Colossus throws the tree up for Ororo to catch with her wind powers, nicely kind of rendered here by Lee, with these lines indicating her control of the winds. And Wolverine, unhappy that he's going to miss out on the case of brewskis that he bet Colossus that he couldn't lift the tree up. So then he proposes, all right, my man, good show. Tell you what, give me a shot at winning that case back. So he says he can log. I say that this log is firewood in 30 seconds. Stacked, asks Colossus. Stacked, says Wolverine. So they're on for another case of brewskis. And here we see that Billy Bragg has followed Ororo to the X-Mansion. And he's getting ready now to spoil the day. So he blasts Professor X's limousine here. And Wolverine says, I thought I smelled something. So who is this guy? He wants to, he asks Ororo, and she says it's the man who bothered her in the city that day. And here he is looking pretty wild with whatever his power is, which is not defined. He says, nobody move, I could disintegrate any of you in a heartbeat, with these Kirby dots, whatever it is that they designate. And he gives Ororo a difficult choice. He says, one of your pals lives, the other dies, but you choose. You have 5 seconds. Choose and live with your choice the rest of your life. So here we've got Ororo. She's aghast. An interesting layout here where we've got her face in the background between these two panels, where she's looking on the one hand to Colossus and on the other to Wolverine, and she thinks, Peter's so sweet, so innocent, I cannot. Wolverine, what instinct should I follow? And she thinks here, do I let the better fighter survive for the sake of the X-Men? Which would best understand, be hurt less? Who is the better man? No, these thoughts are horrid. X-Men do not make choices like this. Wolverine's lighter, faster. There's a chance he could dive away and survive such a blast. Wolverine's looking at me. He knows. So she chooses Wolverine. And here it is. And her head is bowed because of the difficult choice. And Billy gets ready to blast Wolverine. This is a nicely drawn page as well. An interesting use of screen tone too, illustrating the shade on Ororo's face as she's making the difficult decision. Very stoic look here from Wolverine. No words from him. He's completely taciturn, silent, and he's getting ready and steeling himself for this blast of whatever energies Billy wields. And here we go. Look at this for an anchor image. So he's really blasted there. We see it shredding the costume and his mask here. And we hear him roaring in pain as well. So Billy says he leaped away. Looks like he needs another blast. But Colossus is ready with the tree. And he cracks him right in the jaw. And that's gotta hurt. And then Ororo steps in using her powers to sweep him away. And Wolverine here gets up. Just drop him, Storm. He says, right here, he's mine. Look at that face. He means business. Look at the blood coming from his nostrils. The sear burn marks on his face. This is a nicely rendered face of Wolverine's. Definitely means business. And this is nicely done as well. Like Colossus wielding the tree trunk. Nicely done. Nicely indicated action. Very good storytelling. And then we're on to our last couple of pages, our climax. So Billy's dropped by Ororo to the ground. Colossus pins his hands to his head. And Wolverine pops his claws, of course, and gives him a difficult choice. Now it's your turn to choose. You can die by my claws or use those fists to fry your own brains. But Aurora steps in from behind. She tells Wolverine that he's a human being, evil perhaps, but we do not know what has made him this way. He reached out to me for help today and I ignored him. I am perhaps as guilty of wrongdoing as he. Let's bring him into the mansion. Perhaps Jean can help with this sad creature. So Aurora fairly magnanimous there in her ultimate choice. And Wolverine, he retracts his claws. Right, he says. Just get him out of my face, Colossus, before I change my mind. And Aurora, still her hand on Wolverine's shoulder, asks him, you do understand why I had to choose? Yeah, he says, good choice. Logan, she asks, forget it. I'm gonna go get a beer. So, you know, even though he had that stoic attitude to the whole business, he is upset the choice that she made. And we can see her response here as well by her facial expression. And Colossus asks her, Storm, are you all right? She doesn't look all right. And Billy knows that he's won. Looks like I won, lady friend, he concludes. And just look at the rendition of the face there, the shadow, everything. Really nice spotting of blacks. Use of screen tone here in the background, indicating the dark mood of the scene, and also the black border for the panel as well. So interesting devices by Lee to add more tone and mood to the storytelling. We can really see him in this first art job on the X-Men thinking about the storytelling, thinking about the clarity of that, and also how to indicate mood in the art. So I do hope that you enjoyed this quick review and commentary of Jim Lee's very first X-Men comics work, the backup strip for Classic X-Men number 39. So please do like this video in YouTube, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.